There's a game being played around you right now. A game most people don't even know exists. While you're focused on working hard, being competent, delivering results, there are others who understand something you don't. Power doesn't flow to the most qualified. It flows to the most connected. And the people who master connection, who understand how to position themselves near power, who know how to make themselves indispensable to those above them, they rise. Not slowly, not through merit alone, but through strategic, calculated relationship building that looks effortless but is anything but. Francis Bacon understood this better than almost anyone in history. Born into modest circumstances, he climbed to become Lord Chancellor of England, the highest legal position in the land, advisor to kings, one of the most influential men of his era. And he didn't do it through birthright or luck. He did it through a systematic approach to social climbing that he refined into 13 precise laws. Laws that are just as effective today as they were in Elizabethan England. Laws that separate those who remain stuck at the bottom from those who ascend to circles of real power. This isn't about being fake. This isn't about being a sycophant. This is about understanding the cold mechanics of how power networks actually operate and positioning yourself to exploit them. So let's break down Francis Bacon's 13 laws for creating connections with powerful people and climbing social hierarchies without appearing desperate or weak. Law 1. Never approach power directly. Here's what most people do wrong from the start. They see someone powerful, someone they want to connect with, and they approach directly. They send the cold email. They ask for the coffee meeting. They pitch themselves, and they wonder why they get ignored or dismissed. Because powerful people are approached constantly by people who want something from them. Your direct approach makes you look like every other desperate climber trying to extract value. Bacon's method was different. He never approached power directly. He approached through proximity. He positioned himself near powerful people through shared connections, through being in the same spaces, through offering value to people adjacent to his target. He understood that powerful people notice who's already in their orbit far more than they notice outsiders trying to break in. Think of it like this. You don't walk up to the king and ask to be his advisor. You become valuable to the people the king already trusts. You make yourself useful to his inner circle. You create a presence in the spaces where power congregates. And then, when the powerful person finally notices you, it's not because you asked for their attention. It's because you earned it by being someone who's already proven valuable in their world. Law 2. Offer value before asking for anything. Bacon understood something fundamental about human psychology. People don't help those who need them. They help those who've already helped them. The moment you ask for something before you've given anything, you position yourself as a taker. And powerful people have zero tolerance for takers because everyone wants to take from them. So the play is this. Before you ever ask for anything, before you even hint at wanting connection or favor, you offer value. Real value. Not generic compliments or worthless flattery, but something that actually serves their interests. Information they need. An introduction that benefits them. A skill that solves their problem. You make yourself useful first. You create a debt, however small, before you ever position yourself as someone who needs something. Bacon spent years offering his legal expertise, his writing skills, his political insights to those above him before he ever asked for position or favor. He made himself indispensable first, and when he finally did ask, it wasn't a request. It was a natural progression of a relationship where value had already flowed. Law 3. Study their world before entering it. Most people trying to connect with powerful people make one fatal mistake. They show up knowing nothing about the world they're trying to enter. They don't understand the language, the concerns, the internal politics, the unwritten rules. And it shows immediately. Powerful people can smell an outsider instantly. Someone who doesn't belong. Someone who hasn't done their homework. Bacon was obsessive about this. Before he positioned himself near anyone of influence, he studied everything about their world. What they cared about. What problems they faced. Who their allies and enemies were. What language they used. What values they claimed to hold. He became fluent in their reality before ever attempting to enter it. And when he did enter, He didn't look like an outsider trying to fit in. He looked like someone who already belonged. This is critical. You cannot fake understanding of someone's world. You have to actually do the work. Read what they read. Understand their industry. Know their challenges. Speak their language. Because the moment you demonstrate genuine understanding of their reality, you're no longer a random person asking for connection. You're someone who gets it. And that alone makes you more valuable than 90% of people trying to reach them. Law 4. Never appear desperate. Desperation is the death of social climbing. The moment you seem like you need the connection more than they do, you've lost all leverage. Powerful people are attracted to value and repelled by need. They want to connect with people who have options, who are going somewhere with or without them, who bring something to the table rather than just taking from it. Bacon mastered the art of strategic indifference. Even when he desperately wanted position or favor, he never let it show. He created the appearance of being in demand, of having other options, of being someone whose time and attention were valuable. He understood that scarcity creates desire. If you're too available, too eager, too obviously pursuing connection, you make yourself worthless. The play here is counterintuitive. You have to be willing to walk away. You have to create the impression that while you'd enjoy the connection, you don't need it. This doesn't mean being aloof or rude. It means maintaining your dignity and your options. It means never chasing, never begging, never making it obvious that connecting with them is your primary goal. Because the moment they sense that, they lose all respect for you. Law 5. Make them feel superior while positioning yourself as essential. This is the delicate balance Bacon perfected. On one hand, powerful people need to feel their power acknowledged. Their ego demands recognition of their status. If you try to position yourself as their equal too quickly, you threaten their sense of hierarchy and they reject you. But if you make yourself too subservient, too obviously beneath them, you become invisible, just another servant among many. Bacon's solution was brilliant. He acknowledged their superiority in status while making himself essential in function. He deferred to their authority while making it clear that their success depended on his skills. He made them feel powerful while subtly positioning himself as the architect of that power. It's the art of being the power behind the throne without threatening the person sitting on it. In practice, this looks like phrases such as, "Your vision is extraordinary. I'd be honored to help execute it." You're acknowledging their superiority while positioning yourself as necessary for their success. Or, "You're absolutely right about the direction. Let me handle the complexity of implementation." You defer on the big picture while claiming ownership of the details that actually matter. Law 6. Create multiple points of connection. Bacon never relied on a single relationship to climb. He understood that power networks are interconnected webs, and the more threads you can attach yourself to, the stronger your position becomes. He cultivated relationships with multiple powerful people simultaneously, creating a web of connections that reinforced each other. This serves multiple purposes. First, it gives you options. If one powerful person falls out of favor or turns against you, you have others to rely on. Second, it creates social proof. When multiple powerful people value your connection, it signals to others that you must be valuable. Third, it creates opportunities for you to broker connections between powerful people, which makes you even more valuable. The strategy is to never put all your eggs in one basket. Identify multiple people of influence in your target sphere and create relationships with each of them. Not in a way that seems scattered or unfocused, but in a way that positions you as someone who understands the entire landscape of power in that domain. You become a connector, a node in the network, and that position is often more powerful than being attached to any single person. Law 7. Never reveal your full ambition. Here's where most social climbers destroy themselves. They make it too obvious what they want. They let powerful people see exactly how high they're trying to climb. And the moment a powerful person realizes you're using them as a stepping stone to something else, they cut you off. Because no one wants to be used. No one wants to help someone who they know will discard them the moment something better comes along. Bacon was meticulous about hiding his ultimate ambitions. To each person he connected with, He appeared content with modest goals. He expressed gratitude for small favors. He seemed satisfied with incremental progress. He never let anyone see the full scope of where he intended to go, because if they had seen it, they would have recognized him as a threat or a user, rather than a loyal ally. The practical application is this: when connecting with powerful people, express ambitions that are one step above where you are, not 10 steps. Make them believe that helping you achieve that one step will earn your loyalty and gratitude. Never reveal that you see them as merely a rung on a ladder you're climbing. Make each person feel like they're your destination, not your stepping stone, even if they're not. Law 8. Become the person who knows things. Information is currency in power networks. Bacon understood this profoundly. He positioned himself as someone who always seemed to know what was happening, who understood the hidden dynamics, who could provide insights others couldn't. He became valuable not just for what he could do, but for what he knew. This requires building information networks. You cultivate relationships with people at all levels, not just at the top. You pay attention to gossip, to rumors, to the informal communications that reveal what's really happening. You develop a reputation for being plugged in, for understanding the landscape, for having context others lack. And then you selectively share that information with powerful people in ways that make you valuable to them. But here's the key: you never share everything you know. You never reveal your full information network. You share just enough to be useful, to demonstrate value, to make them want more. You create dependence on your insights. You make them realize that having you in their orbit means they have access to information they wouldn't have otherwise. And information, in the world of power, is often more valuable than skills or labor. Law 9. Master. The art of strategic silence. Bacon knew when to speak and, more importantly, when not to. Social climbers often destroy themselves by talking too much. They reveal their ignorance through opinions on things they don't understand. They create enemies through careless words. They make themselves look foolish by speaking when silence would serve them better. Powerful people value those who can hold silence, who can be trusted with sensitive information, who don't feel the need to fill every moment with words, who speak only when they have something valuable to say. Bacon cultivated this reputation meticulously. He was known for his careful words, his strategic silences, his ability to be present in powerful circles without creating friction through unnecessary speech. The practical skill here is learning to be comfortable with silence in social situations. Not awkward silence, but composed silence, the kind that makes people wonder what you're thinking rather than dismissing you as having nothing to contribute. When you do speak, make it count, make it relevant, make it insightful, and then return to silence. This creates an aura of depth and thoughtfulness that powerful people find attractive because it's so rare. Law 10. Align yourself with rising power, not established power. Here's where Bacon showed his true genius. While others competed to attach themselves to the most powerful people of the moment, Bacon had an uncanny ability to identify who would be powerful in the future. He aligned himself with rising stars, with people who were on their way up but not yet at the top. And when those people rose, he rose with them. This is strategic for multiple reasons. First, rising power is more accessible than established power. They have fewer people competing for their attention. They're more open to new relationships. They remember who supported them before they made it to the top. Second, you get more credit and loyalty from someone you helped on the way up than from someone you attached yourself to after they were already powerful. The skill is in identifying rising power before others do. Look for competence before recognition. Look for people who are delivering results but haven't yet received the status they deserve. Look for those who are positioned in growing fields or organizations on the rise. Attach yourself to them early. Offer value when they're still building. And when they ascend, and they will, you ascend with them. Often with more influence than those who tried to attach themselves later. Law 11. Create reasons for repeated contact. One meeting means nothing. One favor means nothing. Real connections are built through repeated contact over time. Bacon understood this deeply. He engineered reasons to interact with powerful people repeatedly. He created projects that required ongoing collaboration. He established regular communications. He made himself part of their routine rather than a one-time interaction. This is about engineering serendipity. You create situations where you naturally end up in the same space as powerful people multiple times. You establish regular check-ins, updates, or collaborations. You make yourself part of the fabric of their world rather than a guest passing through. Because familiarity breeds trust. Repeated positive interactions create relationship depth that a single impressive meeting never can. The practical application is to always leave every interaction with a powerful person with a reason for future contact. An introduction you're going to make, information you're going to send, a project you're collaborating on, a question you're researching for them. Never let an interaction be a dead end. Always create a thread that naturally leads to the next interaction. Over time, these threads weave into a relationship that feels natural and established rather than forced or transactional. Law 12. Make yourself difficult to replace. Bacon's ultimate goal in any relationship with powerful people was to become difficult to replace. He developed specialized knowledge, unique skills, or irreplaceable connections that made him valuable in ways others couldn't easily replicate. He didn't just offer generic value. He offered specific, specialized value that would create a gap if he were removed. Think about it strategically. If you offer the same thing hundreds of others can offer, you're replaceable. Your connection is fragile. You have no leverage. But if you develop a unique combination of skills, knowledge, and connections that serves a powerful person's specific needs in ways no one else can, you become indispensable. And indispensable people are protected, promoted, and given access that replaceable people never receive. This requires understanding what gaps exist in a powerful person's network and capabilities, and then deliberately filling those gaps in ways that are difficult for others to replicate. Maybe you develop deep expertise in something they need but don't understand. Maybe you cultivate connections they value but can't access themselves. Maybe you position yourself as the translator between their world and another world they need to navigate. Whatever it is, make sure that removing you creates a problem they don't want to deal with. Law 13. Know when to cut ties. This is the law most people ignore to their destruction. Bacon understood that not every relationship is worth maintaining. Some connections become toxic. Some powerful people fall from grace. Some relationships extract more value than they provide. And the ability to recognize when to cut ties and walk away is just as important as the ability to forge connections in the first place. Powerful people respect those who aren't desperately clinging to relationships that no longer serve them. They respect those who can walk away from a bad situation with dignity. They respect those who recognize when association becomes liability. Bacon was ruthless about this. When a patron fell from favor, he didn't go down with them. When a relationship became more burden than benefit, he gracefully distanced himself. He never burned bridges unnecessarily, but he also never chained himself to sinking ships. The skill here is in reading the signs. When a powerful person's influence is genuinely waning. When a relationship has become extractive rather than mutual. When continuing association creates more risk than opportunity. You don't make dramatic exits. You don't create enemies. You just quietly, gradually create distance. You become less available. You create legitimate reasons why you can't be as involved. And you redirect your energy toward connections that are ascending rather than descending. Let's talk about what all 13 laws have in common. They're built on a fundamental understanding that social climbing isn't about luck or charm or being liked. It's about strategic value creation and careful positioning. Bacon didn't rise because he was the most talented man in England. He rose because he understood how to make himself valuable to people who had power and how to position himself as essential to their success. Most people approach powerful people with the question, what can they do for me? Bacon approached with a different question, what do they need that I can provide? This shift in perspective changes everything. You're no longer a supplicant begging for favors. You're a strategic partner offering value. You're not climbing by taking. You're climbing by giving in ways that create obligation and dependence. Here's the brutal truth about social networks and power. They're not meritocracies. The most qualified person doesn't win. The most connected person wins. the person who understands the invisible web of relationships, obligations, and mutual interests that actually determine who rises and who doesn't. And that understanding, that's what Bacon's 13 laws are really about. Think about your current position. Who are the powerful people in your sphere? Not the famous people far above you, but the people with real influence in your immediate world. The people who make decisions that affect you. The people who control resources, opportunities, access. Have you positioned yourself near them? Have you made yourself valuable to them? Have you created reasons for repeated contact? Have you developed capabilities that make you difficult to replace? Most people haven't. Most people are focused on doing their job well and hoping someone notices. But hoping is not a strategy. Bacon would tell you that you have to engineer notice. You have to strategically position yourself where power can see you, recognize your value, and feel compelled to elevate you because doing so serves their interests. Let's get tactical about implementation. You're going to identify 3 people of influence in your sphere. Not billionaires or celebrities, but people with real power in your immediate world. Decision makers, gatekeepers, connectors, people who, if they wanted to, could meaningfully change your trajectory. For each of these 3 people, you're going to research them. What do they care about? What problems do they face? What are their goals? What's their background? Who do they already trust? You're going to become an expert on their world. Not in a creepy stalker way, but in a strategic intelligence-gathering way. You're learning the landscape so you can navigate it effectively. Then you're going to identify how you can offer value to each of them. Real value, not generic flattery or worthless offerings. What skill do you have that they need? What information do you possess that serves their interests? What connection can you facilitate that benefits them? What problem can you solve that they're currently facing? Find the answer, and then create a way to offer that value without asking for anything in return. This might be sending them an article that's directly relevant to a project they're working on. It might be making an introduction between them and someone who could help them. It might be offering expertise on something they're trying to figure out. It might be as simple as publicly supporting an initiative they care about in a way that actually helps them rather than just making you look good. The key is that your first several interactions with these people must be pure value offerings with no ask attached. You're building credit. You're demonstrating that you're someone who understands their world and can contribute to it. You're making yourself memorable in a positive way. And only after you've established this foundation do you begin to position yourself for deeper connection. Understand that this is a long game. Bacon spent years cultivating relationships before he reaped significant benefits from them. Social climbing that happens too fast is usually unsustainable. You haven't built real relationships. You haven't created genuine value. You're just riding a lucky break that will eventually collapse. But if you play the long game, if you systematically apply these 13 laws over time, you build a foundation of relationships and reputation that can carry you much higher than talent alone ever could. Here's what happens when you master this. You stop being someone who has to fight for every opportunity. Opportunities start coming to you. Powerful people start reaching out. You get invited into rooms you could never have accessed before. You become part of the conversation at levels above your official position because you've made yourself valuable. You've made yourself connected. You've made yourself someone that powerful people want in their orbit. And here's the final dark truth that Bacon understood perfectly. Once you've climbed high enough using these methods, once you've positioned yourself near real power, you can pull the ladder up behind you. You can become the gatekeeper. You can be the one that others have to strategically connect with. You transition from climber to node, from supplicant to patron, and that's when the game truly changes in your favor. But you have to start. You have to stop believing that merit alone will carry you. You have to accept that the world rewards strategic positioning as much as competence. You have to be willing to study power, understand it, and position yourself within it deliberately rather than hoping someone notices how talented you are. Francis Bacon rose from modest origins to the highest levels of power in one of the most ruthless political environments in history. He didn't do it by being the smartest person in England, though he was brilliant. He didn't do it by being the most virtuous, though he claimed virtue when useful. He did it by understanding exactly how power networks operate and positioning himself strategically within them, using these 13 laws. You have the same laws available to you now, the same principles, the same strategies. What you do with them determines whether you stay where you are or whether you climb to levels you can barely imagine from your current position. The game is being played whether you participate or not. The only question is whether you play it consciously and strategically, or whether you remain unaware while others climb over you using the exact principles Bacon codified centuries ago. Power flows to the connected, always has, always will, and now you know how to become one of the connected. The question is whether you'll actually do it.